it's wordless. It was a genuine, pleasant surprise. Well, we put on a pro rodeo in Eureka, Kansas, and I'm on the committee. And Rob Smets, which has been a good friend of mine since the 80s, called me. And, you know, I had the phone, and I looked at it, and I didn't recognize the number, and I about didn't take it. And then I thought, well, maybe it's one of the contestants wanting, you know, to get how they could get there and stuff like that. And it was Rob. And he started me, he said, you want to know something? And I said, am I in? He said, yeah, you're in, buddy. So, yeah, it was great. I was in rodeo family. My dad competed and then announced and judged, and my mom was a world champion barrel racer before the other association. And I've just been around horses my whole life and rodeo, and didn't ever think about doing anything else. I started roping calves. I grew up in a little old 2-block city, southeast Kansas. Had school there, just two-room school. Right. And then we moved to Columbus, Kansas, and you know, they had football and all of this. And I wanted to play football too in high school. Plus, if I could get home with time to run one calf, we would run one calf. So that, and then my cousin was in Vietnam, come home. He was a bareback rider, and he kind of wanted me to go with him places and stuff. You know, that Vietnam kind of worked him over, and I think I was more kind of like his service dog than I was anything, but he said, you want to try this? And he was going to a rodeo in Welch, Oklahoma, and my mom, when I was leaving to go with him, she said, do not let him get on any bulls, like there was a chance in hell to do that anyway. And he said they need some bareback riders. So I got on one, or I really rode two. One of them bucked me off, and I got the other one rode. It was pretty ugly watching, but and that kind of started there, and I'd done that through high school, and then college, and then started through the pros. And you know, those guys were smaller and just really rode a lot better than I did. But it's good. It's a good, great place to start. Coffeyville, Kansas, and then Emporia State University. Played football both of them. In high school, you know, back then, you couldn't do anything and get paid for it. My first name was Benny, and that's what everybody called me, but my the football coach thought, you know, you're going to get in trouble with this because you're winning money. So I started going by my middle name, Joel. And it stuck. Right. You know, I was middle linebacker, played pretty good. You know, I won a President Trophy for that. And my mom, she was a huge football fan. I got 2 breaks in a small right here in the arm, and she came and told them how to wrap it up where I could keep playing. And I mean, it was pretty big around, and the refs, they'd feel it and stuff, and boy, that was a weapon. I could use it. Yeah. But the contact part of football, I think, transformed over into the steer wrestling. Yeah, I'd done both for a while. We were part of the team rodeo. Years ago, it was, you know, a team, and 2 Cowboys went at the same time and all of that. And I mean, it was a pretty good deal. You know, I got drafted for bareback riding and bulldogging. And I think it was $8,000 per rodeo. Oh, wow. Yeah, but I've got about 6 or 7 still hot checks that it didn't last. But that's kind of where, you know, the bulldogging really, really started. Well, I was fortunate enough, my dad knew a lot of these great cowboys. Casey Tibbs was the coach for LA's rodeo team. And he knew Dad, and every time we were around him, he would come to me. And, you know, I chauffeured him around once and stuff like that, and he was watching me, you know, do both events, and he said, son, you need to get your permit. He said, you know, you ride pretty good, but your bulldog is going to take off. So, that's where it kind of started. And then when that tame rodeo deal fell through, he had talked me into getting my permit and started there. And I filled my permit riding bareback horses, which was pretty lucky.
Yeah.
But just, them guys just, the smaller ones and stuff, they just overrode me, So, and the steer wrestling just started progressing, I think, through the contact of football. It just kind of took over because I really liked football and hitting them.
And I guess when
78, 79, I filled my permit in 78 and started. The deal was 79, and was, like I said, I still was riding a few bareback horses, and got hooked up with Charlie Battles, knew my dad, and he started hauling me, and it's just a learning curve. You watch those guys that's been doing it forever, and the biggest thing I think he taught me was don't beat yourself. Don't rush things, don't do this, do that, and just don't beat yourself, don't make mistakes. And I'd practice. My dad had a friend, Max French, had a lot of bulldog and steers, and I'd go throw them down on the ground, maybe 20, 30 a day, and just muscle memory. And it did. It started to get better. Tommy Combs, he made the finals, I think, a couple times, but he had a horse called Charger. And I got hooked up with him, and that horse, it stepped my game up. There's just something about him. A lot of people didn't like him. They couldn't score him. Boy, they'd get in there and hold him tight and try to hold him in there. And them gates would bang, and he's gone. And they'd break a lot of barriers. And I figured him out. I just rode him in there and just barely had him. I'd score him with my little finger. And he could inhale them. And, like I said, he just stepped my game up. Well, in '83, I entered 159 rodeos.
Oh boy.
Got to 153 maybe, and I got there in time to see my steer go down the arena, because I just was too late getting there. And the other ones, we just couldn't get there at all. And it just, like I said, it's just become where you just didn't beat yourself. It's all the same. Yeah, like I said, it's just muscle memory, When you're comfortable, it makes it easier, And we watch the Cowboy channel today, and them guys get in there and wiggle around and fight them horses and want to kick them up and do this and that, and then they wonder why they don't work very well, So I think the horsemanship part of it really helped me also. And like when I was a kid, we had horses, and my dad trained horses, and we'd get ponies and do the carts, and we had some land 2 miles south of us, had mares and colts down there, and Dad would get most of the rough road out of them, and I'd ride down there and pump water for the mares and colts, and then come back and get on another one and do the same thing. But them ponies and them carts, we had a cart that was red on the bottom and scored just scratched off the paint because them ponies would take off and turn that thing over. It was wild. The presidential rodeo, got to go to the White House and put a performance on at Landover, Maryland. And I won that. And then we got to go to the White House to receive the buckles, and like I said, it was really good. I've got a pair of spurs that have drug through the carpet in the White House, and like the barbecue on the South Lawn. Louis Moore was getting some kind of award, and I read all his books, and I was more excited about meeting him, I think, than was the president. but President Reagan was funny, and pleasant. It was just, he treated us like we'd been together all for a long time. So it was cool. Roy Duval, a little later, Rod Lyman, Oatberry, there's guys, Gary Green. There's really too many of them,
Yeah.
Back in the day, when, like the first 2 years, the winter rodeos, the big ones, the first year there was 359 bulldoggers in
Oh,
order.
wow.
And then they decided to drop it to 250. And, there's guys just coming in off the street you'd think that could do it. So, it was competitive. I had really good year. Was the number one for quite a while, and then kind of dropped down, I think, to number 3 going into the finals. But moving it to Las Vegas had really changed it. The money got bigger and bigger, and it just was down to one steer.
Yeah.
And it was very, very close. But John W. Jones, which he's a very good friend of mine, he just had a little better finals, and it just close.
You said
It was $30.81. And I think, you find yourself thinking back through all them rodeos, oh my, if I'd have just done this, or if I'd just done that. There's times that we would work 4 rodeos in one day. We'd be in the plane, be at slack in the morning, an afternoon perf, a night perf, and a slack after the perf at another, deal. I mean, we were hooked up. It was, and you try to work at all the good ones you can get to, and like I said, sometimes you just get late. You can make it. So there was usually 3 of us. When they changed the things in the offices where we entered through stuff like this, that they wanted a 4-man buddy, and they'd tell you, the 4th guy might pull you out of the performance you're wanting. And so I just used 3 guys. We just, and you got a guy driving and sleeping, and then you got to switch, and but we had pickups with cab-eye campers and bumper pull trailers, and we didn't have the luxury of what they've got today. It kind of self-built, You said, do we have time to stop to eat? Maybe not. We don't know. Let's go. So, but it's just unreal what we went through, to get to them. Well, my daughters both, high school, college, roped, breakaway and stuff, and hauling them around. And when I slowed down a lot, I put on a lot of schools. And, that kind of kept me in the game, but it comes a time when you've just got to face it. You're hurt, you're tired. I've got 2 new knees, a shoulder, and it just, you just got to admit that I'm done. I mean, there it is. I broke an ankle at a Pretty Prairie rodeo, and we've got a really good sports medicine doctor, and I had him build me a little, it was a deal that would let my move like that, but not sideways. And I had that, it was a cast with something with a foot on the heel, and I had to cut a boot up and put it where I'd do it, lace it up. And 2 weeks later, I was back after it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that was Cheyenne. And you run them long ways, and they're big cattle. And I mean, I got off that first one and placed on him a little bit down low, but it hurt a little, but not much. I might have cried a little bit, but it was from then on. I wore it probably 2 months, I'd say, and then finally got back to just a regular boot.
Yeah, and the knees too.
Yeah. Those were more later. Yeah, I stuck my foot in the mud and come back, kind of kicked myself in the rear and tore all this up. And that same doctor that built the deal would go to the high school rodeos for the kids, and he'd drain anywhere from 100 to 120 fluid off that thing every weekend for me. So, and finally, I just had enough and got a new one. I don't know. She was pretty quiet about it, and like I said, Dad, if it's anything like with my girls, we'd try to tell them how to do something, and they ain't gonna listen. So if I wanted them to hear it, I'd say, go over there and get one of my friends, go tell them to do this, and that's kind of how the same way it works. So I think a lot of it's the horsemanship, and then the transition from the back of the horse to the steer. It's just it's a tight tidings where you time, to let go of the saddle horn and do this and do that, and that's the hardest thing for them to get. But that just kind of, the more you do it, you get comfortable. And I tell them this, there's 100 ways to skin a rabbit. And this is the way I do it, but I'm going to not brainwash you to do it just like me. We're going to try to look at you and what you're doing and build a steady deal for you.
For just what
Oh yeah, the same talent is the same, but the amount of money that these guys are winning and the simple fact that they've got sponsors. We go down the road, we bought our own gas. They're going down the road, throwing money out the window. So, but, it's good it's good for rodeo. The rodeo channel is, amazing for rodeo. But there's a big difference. And yeah, I would love to go today. This is, we started, I think this was our 13th year at the little old saddle club, and it builds. And there's a racetrack in Eureka that they'd closed down years before, and we got permission to go in there, and we fixed it up, got it going, and it's turned into a good rodeo. That one year we were small rodeo of the year in the circuit, prairie circuit.
Sure.
So, but yeah, every cowboy needs to judge a rodeo and be on a committee a little bit, because it's hard. You're trying to please them, and you're trying, get people to come, and it's just hard. I mean, they need to see that one time.